there should not be any echo at this point, I think.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, sorry about that, guys. Okay. So, today's topic for us is memory forensics with volatility. And volatility, before we jump into the tool and we understand what kind of sandbox environment you need to have and what kind of tools will use, what are the different plugins of volatility, what is volatility used for, right? um, I thought it will be nice to have a very short discussion about file formats, because without understanding file formats, volatility won't be really of much help. uh, and we'll see why with two exercises I have prepared. So we'll do small demos to explore and understand existing memory dumps that I have taken out, and then we'll try to approach volatility from that perspective. Okay, so we'll start with a very simple concept, and I'll share my screen. Just tell me if all you can see it in just a few seconds. Yes, is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes.
Perfect, perfect. So, ladies and gentlemen, what you see in front of you right now.
Xerox, you need to unmute yourself, please.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's audible
Uh,
now.
yeah. So we both know, right? We know that we have studied, I think, before also that there are two types of file formats that are popular. There is the PE file format, also known as the portable executable file format. We can learn more about this file format on the documentation of Microsoft's website. You can go to learn.microsoft.com, and you can go to this link, and you can actually read about the PE format. Uh, to explain at a very high level, it is basically a file format that takes a few different types of data structures and it clips them together. And that final structure, or you can say the final hierarchy of data structures, is what ends up becoming your .exe file. So if you guys remember, right? If I just go back and show you the Wikipedia page for PE files, you'll see that portable executables can have many different types of file formats. As a matter of fact, if I zoom in and you look at this table, you'll see file name extensions, and you can see very different types of file names, right? We are familiar with .exe. It's a very common one, right? We all have run a exe file, right? If we are here and we are dealing with computers, but you can also see some special ones. For example, you can see .ocx, .drv for drivers, .efi is another interesting one. So these are actually all executable formats for Windows. They'll all run on the Windows. Now, some may run on the older versions, while the others may not work on the newer version as expected. This is because Microsoft has changed the support for executables since Windows 7. So there may be some minute changes you have to do, but these are all portable executables. Okay. Now, some people may be asking me, but sir, DLL I studied is a library. Library is not an executable, right? Well, technically it is. What is a library? If we learn about programming, library is just code written by someone else that you use in your program, right? So technically speaking, that code needs to be fed into your program and then compiled and executed. So because of this concept, even DLLs, technically speaking, can run on Windows systems. That is a thing. You guys can go on this Wikipedia page, very easy to find, and you guys can give it a read also after this class. uh, Extremely insightful. It will give you a nice little history as well of how we started with 16 bits in 3.1 and how it came to be. Right now, I'm going to quickly just go through an overview of P and then the ELF format, and then we'll jump at the exercise and we'll see how this knowledge helps us. Okay, it's okay if you're not understanding everything. For now, try to get a high level overview. Don't worry, oh my god, so many options, size of uninitialized data, I have no idea what is uninitialized data. Don't worry, you don't have to understand everything at once. We'll take it step by step. The first and the most important thing inside a PE header is the DOS header. Now DOS header is still used to this day, and what ends up happening is that in this portion of the program, or you can say app, and from this point onwards, I'll take an assumption that the application is calculator. Okay, so on your Windows laptop, if you guys can see calculator, I'll assume we are talking about that calculator. Okay, so say that you are trying to open calculator. When Windows will open the PE file, the first thing it will read is the header, DOS header of the PE file of the calculator, which is calculator.exe, right? Calc.exe. Now, inside the header, there'll be information such as who created it. There'll be information such as what version it is. So there'll be some version control. There'll be information such as certificates. So you'll see Microsoft's ECC encryption and keys, and the Microsoft certificate signing. So you will come to know that okay, this is an authentic Microsoft certificate, and a few other things like time offsets. So these are usually the kind of things you'll find in the header. If it is a legitimate application, if it is a malicious or illegitimate application, DOS header is actually editable to a certain degree. There is a limit to how big this header can be. So as long as your malicious code is smaller than the limit, you can actually put malicious code inside the DOS header also. Okay, so that's a very interesting point you need to understand. Number two, there is the DOS stub. Here, before NT kernel, right? If you guys know about the NT kernel and DOS kernel, before Windows and Microsoft used to make the DOS kernel, which was not actually Microsoft's, they purchased it. So initially, when PE format was created, it was created for the DOS system, not the new NT kernel, which you see in XP and 95, 98, 7, 8, 10, 11, not for that kernel. So there was some code and some additional parameters that need to be loaded into memory, and those parameters used to go in this place. Nowadays, Windows will simply keep this as empty space, all zeros, and ignore this portion of the PE file. But again, there are malwares that have been known to inject some kind of stub code here and try to get some kind of code execution. From that point onwards, you have the actual file data section, also known as the the optional things. So till now we were discussing things that are a must. So the DOS header and the DOS stub and everything related to them, something you have to put, you cannot skip. Then this portion from here till here, right? I think the green portion, I can say, is the portion that can be considered as something again that is not optional, and you have to specify. For example, here you can see the time date stamp. Whenever we click on a executable file, you will see it has some time date information. That time date information is usually stored here. Okay, after that you'll see this arrow saying that there are a bunch of optional headers you can specify, with the red ones being very less used and from the DOS era, and the blue ones being currently still being actively used. And then finally you will come down to the section table, which deals with memory addresses. So how much memory to give to this file, from where does this program start, right? The pointer to the address in memory, you know, things like number of line numbers inside this program in binary, all those things are stored there. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is a very simple overview of what a PE file is. I know a lot of you must be thinking, I mean, you know, there's so many things inside, but maybe some other day we can, you know, pick one by one and go and, you know, study that, because that will take months. It's a very complicated file structure that they have created. So going forward, I hope that till this point everybody is clear what is a PE format, what are the different extensions you can find for PE format, that exe files and DLL files are PE format, and that most of your applications are running in PE format on Windows. There are some other formats, we'll discuss that later. Till this point, if everyone is clear, perfect. So now let's talk a little bit about volatility, what it actually is, what it's used for. Okay. So better than, you know, me explaining, I think we can let the volatility developers explain. So let's do a very simple thing. There is a README file here. Let's print that out and let's try to listen to what they are saying. Okay. So I'm going to quickly jump at the top, and here you go. Volatility 3. Okay. So we are using the third version of volatility. The memory extraction framework is the world's most widely used framework for extracting digital artifacts from volatile memory samples. The extraction techniques are performed completely independent to the system being investigated, but offer visibility into the runtime state of the victim system. Okay, this is not our system; it's the victim system. The framework is intended to introduce people to the techniques and complexities associated with extracting digital artifacts from volatile memory, provide a platform for further work into the exciting area of research. So, this is an open research problem that is important to note. In 2019, volatility was actually completely written. So, what happened was, if you guys know, there was a huge switch from Python 2 to Python 3. When the switch occurred, basically what ended up happening was, uh, the volatility framework at that time was very very good, but it broke. It was no longer working with the Python 3, and it's a very complicated framework, so it is very hard for one person to write it again in full. So that is why in 2019 the foundation was formed, and they decided that okay, we have to maintain this, because this is a critical tool in the arsenal of, you know, cyber security and cyber defense engineers. So we need to make sure that this tool is being maintained, and that's exactly what happened, ladies and gentlemen. We have volatility 3 now, an extremely capable piece of software. You guys can see here it says that it requires Python 3.7 or above. Right now we are at the stable version 3.12.x, with most people recommending 3.9 or 3.10 for, you know, big projects. So that means that almost any latest version of Python is going to work, and you will be able to run volatility. Now, how to download your volatility on your Linux system? So here I am having a Linux system, okay, uh, called you know, Remnux, REMNUX. You guys can Google it up. It is a virtual machine designed for malware analysis and reverse engineering. To give you guys an idea of what kind of tools this virtual machine has, I will open all applications tabs, and here you will see some familiar faces like Ghidra for reverse engineering, and Burp Suite, as well as Cutter, which is a GUI for Radare 2 reverse engineering framework. So this can give you an idea of, you know, why we are using this virtual machine. Yes, everyone, this virtual machine is free to download. and run. This virtual machine is regularly updated almost every year and a half. It will get an update. uh, it is a nice, you know, idea to separate the, you can say, kind of the testing environment from your host system. Okay, the guest and the host, because see, you do not want to run these memory samples on your system. Many times what will happen is that malware will be designed to spread even through memory dumps. If you try to run it and it's a Linux malware or a Linux compatible malware, right? It works with the ABI interface, then it can spread onto your system even if you are using volatility. So it is recommended that you have an isolated Linux environment where you will be running volatility. Another important thing to note, everyone, um, that if you guys want, you can also have a Windows virtual machine, which is also recommended with appropriate tools installed. Maybe in some other class, I'll give you a demo for the Windows as well. So now that you guys have an idea that okay, it's a Linux 5.4 kernel system and it's using Ubuntu as the base, we can go further and we can actually see the different options inside volatility and what it does. So to run volatility is very simple. You can download the source code. So if I can show you guys here, there is a file called volatility3250.zip, right? Once you extract that file, you get volatility3250. Now this file is actually having all the code, and I've just moved all that file to this folder. Okay, so these all files were inside this folder. So this is this source code that I have downloaded from the GitHub, and I have just extracted it and then pasted it all here, okay, for you guys to see. So till this point, the steps of installation should be pretty clear. Now Remnex already comes with a lot of Python libraries, plugins, and modules. Okay, so because of that, you will not need to install anything. Just type Python 3 vol.py -h for help, and automatically you will see that volatility is working without any additional configuration, any additional installation, which is absolutely fantastic, right? This gives us a very, I would say, flexible framework that is working out of the box on our virtual machine. We don't need to do anything. We are ready to go. Let's get the file and start forensics, which is very important because when we are talking about DFIR in real world scenario, time is of the essence. You don't want to waste 3 hours trying to figure out why there is an error in installing some software so you can sit and analyze something. You can spin up a clean virtual machine of Ubuntu, for example, do the same steps and get the system working very quickly. Now, some important things to note before we start. Volatility has a plug-in system architecture, meaning that on top of this framework, right, you see it keeps saying the word framework. You can actually build additional functionality inside Python, which can be further implemented to extend the capability of this tool. To give you guys an example, there are many different commercial tools out there which are using volatility as their core, and on top of that they have built their own commercial, you guys can say, you know, plugins which help them do the editing. Who is drawing on the screen? Can you please stop? Otherwise I'll have to restrict the privileges. I can see your name. Don't do that again. Okay, so moving on, as we're discussing, right, you can also have configurations and settings. So say you want to do your forensics in a very specific way, you can hand write a configuration file and then you can run it using that configuration file or settings file, and volatility will honor those settings. Furthermore, volatility 3 is using parallel processing, which was not a thing in volatility 2. So you can define how many threads to use, and you can increase the speed of this tool, which is extremely important. These are, I can say, one of the major, forward looking changes when it comes to volatility 3. Okay. Now let's, see few examples. So I have actually gone and set up an environment for all of you. So give me a second. Let's go to the downloads. Here you guys can see I downloaded volatility, and I also downloaded this file right here. This is the b3js blah 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 blah, right? Some big file. So let's extract that file here. Yes, okay, it won't work like this. I have deleted the extractor. So let's do one thing. Let's move the file from our downloads to this folder. Now you guys can see that the file is here in the local folder. Let's unzip this file, and it will ask for a password. And before I enter the password, I know the password already. Before I enter the password and I extract this, okay, I want to go back and I want to show you where I got this file from. So if you guys are not saying, not heard of it, presenting Blue Team Labs online, it's a very nice platform. It tries to teach you blue teaming and defensive security. It has a lot of good challenges. I would recommend completing all the free challenges. After that, if you wish, you can actually purchase the also. Okay, it's not very costly, and they have some good challenges regarding analysis, malware analysis. So you can go through those. You can go to reverse engineering, network forensics. They have some really good learning challenges. Now, if you guys see here, there is a challenge here called memory analysis ransomware, and this is kind of the premise of it. They say that an account executive called the SOC, security operations center, earlier sound very frustrated and angry. He stated he can't access any files on his computer and keeps receiving pop-ups stating that the files have been encrypted. You disconnected the computer from the network and extracted the memory dump of his machine and started analyzing it with volatility. Continue your investigation to uncover how the ransomware works and how to stop it. Right? A nice challenge. If we go down, it's telling us that you can, you have to put in some flags, and to find those flags, you have to run some commands, and it's telling us those commands. And it's telling us to do our research and answer these commands one by one, one by one, one by one. It's also telling us who has solved it recently, and who was the first person who solved it almost 1,000 days ago. So here you'll see memory dump, right? The one I downloaded. Now, by the way, before we go any further, who can tell me what is the password of the memory dump I have downloaded? Anyone? You guys just saw it. Those who were keeping an eye out have already seen it. It was on this page only. Anyone who saw the password? See, because this is an infected dump of the RAM, so they have logged it with a password. Okay, just a second, everyone. Can I zoom? Okay. Is it not visible, guys? Like, is there issues in reading? Is it clear now? Team, now visible. Okay, perfect. Batao something, sir. Which part you are talking about? Now you guys will guess the password. I will not guess the password. Until we get the password, we won't be able to do the analysis. You can use the chat box to tell me the password. Think, think. Look at your screen. See, some simple ones people are sending me. So if you guys want, I'll try the simple ones first, okay? People are saying BTLO, okay? That was easy, right? People are asking, what is BTLO? This is why you should keep your mind open. See, BTLO, Blue Team Lab Online. Okay, so this has extracted the files, and now we have uh, a folder here, which I'm assuming has my malware files. Okay, so I can maybe just do an ls for the btlo file, and if I do an ls, I can see the infected dot memory dump. Good. Now let's make a copy of infected dot memory dump from the folder. So infected, and I'll just copy it locally on my this folder inside my volatility folder. Okay, it's a copy, it's not a move, so it will be a little slower than move. Now you guys should be able to see infected dot pm. Perfect. Till this point, I think we are having no problems. We got a challenge to hack. We have installed volatility. We got the file. We got the you can say the kind of say memory forensics file, the memory dump, and we are ready. So let's start. So the first command I'll type will be python space wall.py space dash f. Now using dash f, you can specify the file you want to run the uh, you guys can say analysis on. Okay, dash f is for the file. Now if I just do this and hit enter, let's see what happens. It says error, please select a plugin to run. So remember how I told you guys volatility requires a plugin. Without a plugin it won't work, and it has having a plugin system, so you can develop also your plugins and your settings, your configurations, right? So that means we need to specify something. Now there are some built-in plugin profile collections that are already set up. The most common profile that you'll see is the Windows 7 SP1. Sorry, that will be Windows with a W capital. Okay, and you have to write it exactly as I'm writing it. So you can maybe take a note in your notebook, maybe in your digital notes if you're using Cherry Tree, Obsidian, Notion. Right, take your notes. Write the command down exactly as I'm typing it, and then I will explain a little bit more depth. Let's actually remove this, because again it won't. I think it will give an error. So if I run this portion of the command, it still gives us an error saying that, hey, weird, I am unable to find out if this is a argument. Okay, interesting. Let's do one thing. Let's go back to our challenge, right? Let's look at the first command. It tells us that vol.py, okay, dash f infected vm, okay, dash dash profile equals to win7 sp1 x86, okay. After that, it tells us to run ps scan. Who can tell me the full form of ps scan while I complete the command?
Process scan. Scanning all processes.
Yes, correct. So if I hit enter, Again, I got error. It says that, man, the plugin you're trying to search, there are actually two different types of plugins. Tell us which one you want to scan for. Now, we don't have any idea, right, if this is a Windows machine or a Linux machine. But just from this Win70 through Win7 SP1, a profile, I can guess this is a Windows machine. So that means I have to actually type here Windows dot ps scan dot ps scan. Let's see if we'll get it to work or not. And again, we got an error. Who can tell me how we can solve this error? Actually, can we run it like this? No, it won't, right? Yeah, we need to fix the profile error. So who can tell me what is the issue here and how do we fix it? Guys are allowed to Google. That's fine. Google is part of research. You guys will help me fix this command. See, till now I have discussed that we have to specify a profile which will tie it to a specific operating system, specific version. You have to specify some plugin to run, some code to run on it. You have to specify the file, and finally you have to call it with Python 3, right? These things are common.
I think so. We have to option minus P.
Option minus P. Okay. So you want us to do this, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's run that. Did that work? Why did that work? Can you explain to the class? Why did you think?
Actually, sir, in your help, that minus P is for option. That's why I thought.
Correct. So actually, this challenge was written for volatility 2. At that time, dash dash profile was a thing. Now, dash dash profile has been depreciated. It is just dash p. So this is why you should keep a lookout, right? Seems only 2, 3 of you are keeping a lookout. Always keep an eye out. When I show an output, a help command is to help you, and to help yourself, you have to keep an eye out. You have to look at these things, and you have to understand that sometimes just because the internet says something does not mean it will work. So I've given the system some RAM, so in a few seconds it should be done now. There we go. We now have the entire output, okay, of that command. By the way, volatility also caches this, so next time you run this, it should be slightly faster, okay? And if you see here, the PID of the processes, the image file name or the file name of the system, the executable, the offset, the number of threads they were calling, all that is available here. Okay. Now we have so many different executables. Let's first discuss about each of them before we go back and see what the question was. Who can tell me where was it? Where is it? Where is it? Yes. Who can tell me what does this exe file does? You guys can Google. You have 30 seconds. Time starts now. What does this executable do in Windows? It's a Microsoft executable. If you guys want to become defenders, someday work in SOC, make your own SOC. Knowing the common Windows executables is the first step. You have to know what is normal, what is abnormal.
Client server system is uptime system.
Sorry.
It's client server runtime process.
So it is for
See, that is the full
more
form. I'm asking what does it
graphical,
do?
for more graphical, facilities for Windows.
Okay. See, basically, this exe file, the job is since Windows 3.1, right? Lot of the advanced features were pushed to kernel side, meaning that you could not directly access those files. So Windows needed to provide some APIs for that low level functionality, and that functionality is exposed using this application. Okay. Don't believe everything you read on Google or ChatGPT. I can see a lot of people are sending me long answers. Okay. Uh, you see, people are writing the graphics and all, so that's probably just wrong. ChatGPT made a mistake there. Okay. CRSS .exe has more or less nothing to do with graphics. Now, if you look at some other one, say you look at winlogon.exe, who can tell me what does this do?
Windows login page, maybe.
Don't guess. Research. Okay, so to understand winlogon, for simple question I have, you and like everyone here, they know about AD, Active Directory. It's a product of Microsoft. Guys, please use the chat box. Answer the question. Are you guys knowing about Active Directory? How it works? Almost every organization on the planet uses it. There are alternatives. Many organizations also use alternatives. Mayurji has texted me independent of authentication. But what does that mean? See, those are just big words. What is the logic behind this application? See, why am I taking you through these applications is if you ever touch a sock in your life, first thing you will see is SVC host is misbehaving, when logon is misbehaving. A script was run, some registry keys were added, they were encrypted, you don't have the key, you don't have this, you don't have that, and you are unable to figure out what the hell is going wrong. Having clear basics of what does what is very important. And these are all PE files, by the way, right? Exe is a PE file format. We discussed that, right? So again, my question is, what does winlogon do? And seeing as to no one is giving the answer, I'll give the answer. It basically implements advanced authentication system for Active Directory. It will have some functions. So say you are a large company running Active Directory. I will not explain AD here. I'll just assume you all know. And say that you have created a user access profile for some system. All the advanced things like timeout mechanisms, right? Sequence, access sequences, then access to certain folder restrictions. All that can be managed using this executable on that client system. So that is what when logon is mostly used for. It does not. It is not used for your normal login logout. Okay. So we can see a lot of okay, another interesting one, win in it. This is simple here. This, you guys, I think you can just guess what does it do. No one. So first file to execute, no, win in it is not the first file to execute in Linux. It executes much later. But Win init is the thing that starts explorer.exe. And explorer.exe is the file that loads. What does it load? Your start menu, your icons, your wallpaper, your startup music. Da-na-na-na. So this executable does those things, but it is not the first thing to run. Don't ever think that. It's, I think, seventh or eighth. Okay. So before that, a lot of other things will run. And if you are, talking about startup applications, usually when it will call startup.exe, and that then they'll start to, try to start antivirus. Say, for example, if you have Kaspersky installed, for example, right? So that this is what that is used for. And finally, let's look at. I think you guys already know explorer.exe, right? Your full start menu, everything is handled by this, including your file explorer. Till Windows 10, your file explorer is also part of explorer.exe. Nowadays, I am hearing that Windows 11 latest, file explorer versions, they are creating a separate exe file, which is a child of this process, and some funny stuff is going on. But like for most systems, you'll see that this works just fine. And we see a bunch of dump, right? And I'll just zoom out just a little bit so you guys can see the table. Now, let's go back to our web page and see that this command will list all the processes that are on the system. Perfect. What is the name of the suspicious process? Format at process name, P capital, N capital. So, out of all these processes, which process do you guys think is suspicious? Anyone? Look at the names of different processes. Anyone? Guys, you have to interact. This is not a one way session. I'll not give you the answer. Spool sv.exe. Okay. lsm.exe. lsm.exe. Okay. I can tell you right now, LSM is probably not malicious. dwm.exe. Interesting. See, DWM stands for your desktop window manager. It's what handles all the windows, small, enlarge, all those things. Is it malicious? Ask yourself. Okay, I'm getting some SVC host. Interesting, interesting. Conhost.exe, people are saying. Okay. So, guys, I'll call your names one by one. I want you guys to explain why do you think it is suspicious. See, in a SOC, when your manager asks you what is suspicious, you cannot simply tell your manager, by वो अलग दिख रहा है, that is suspicious. No, that's not how it works. I want a technical reason why you think something can be suspicious while the other one is not. I want to hear a reason. Okay, okay. I'm getting closer to the answers. Okay. Guys, it's fine. You can put it in the everyone. You don't have to send it to me manually. Okay. I'll go down just a little bit more. Now look at again all the processes. Guys have 10 more seconds to find it. Run your eyes through the output. Did you guys spot it? 5, 4, 3. It's visible to everyone, right? How am I still getting wrong answers? 2, 1. Okay. I'll tell you guys the answer. Can you guys see here? What is the name? Wanna decryptor. Guys, remember WannaCry attack? Very famous. A lot of UK hospitals got it. Exactly. Wanna decryptor. So if you guys remember, in our question, they're asking us at process name. I think this is in the same format, right? So let's copy this, go back up, paste and submit and see if we got the answer correctly or not. Yes, we got the marks. Good job, guys. Now, why intentionally I did not show you this? First, I want you guys to think which of these is malicious. See, I'll tell you why. In most real world SOC incidents, you will not see a process like this. It will be called something like Microsoft Data Controller Process.exe, something like that. You won't be able to, and it will be signed by Microsoft certificates or VMware certificates or Broadcom certificates. You won't be able to even tell by certificates also if the exe file is legitimate or not. I have seen multiple SOCs where the analyst has missed the malware. Okay, so we got that. Let's see if we can answer this question. What is the parent process ID for the suspicious process? Now, to make your lives easier, okay, what I'm going to do is go back to my table, just 1 second, and show you the top of the table. So if you look at the top, you can see PID, which is process ID, PPID, parent process ID, and this is exactly what they're asking us, right? Parent process ID, PPID. So it's telling us what is the PPID of what you have just pasted. Okay, we can see that this is the PPID, so we can just copy and paste that, and that is also correct. Perfect. What is the initial malicious executable that created the process? Interesting. What is the initial file that created this process? Can you guys tell me? If you guys can tell me by looking here also, maybe you can Google a command of volatility that can help us find that. Both solutions I'll accept. But you have to give me reason where you found it, what does it do? You have to unmute and answer. Okay, someone says OR4QT. This is the parent. Why do you say this is the parent? Naniji, can you unmute and tell me?
Sir, its parent's PID is 2732, and when we look in the list, the PID is 2732 is for ORQT, for QNX.
Exactly. Good catch. Good catch, man. So the PID for this process is the same as the process ID for WANA decryptor. So simple, guys. Only 1-2 people are studying, or is everyone having a getting something out of this session? See, that was such a simple question. All you had to do for look for 2732 in this column, the PID column. That's it. So now we have seen the executable name. So we'll copy and we'll paste that. Okay. And if we submit it, again, that's of course a correct answer. Okay. Uh, then it says if you drill down on the suspicious PID and find the process used to delete files, and it's telling us a command. It's telling us wall.py-f infected memory file profile, again same pscan, and then it's telling us to grep the PID. Okay, let's do that. So let's do grep, right? And it's telling us do a inside brackets put the PID. So we'll put 2732 initially. Okay, so without brackets that won't work. Cool. Just give it a few seconds. Should I use the parallel processing option as well? I'll add the threads so that it's faster. Okay, so here you get some output. You see the number 2732 in 3 places here when you do the grep, right? By the way, you all know basic Linux, right? You guys know what grep does? You guys know what a pipe symbol is? Please type yes in the chat box. Everyone, I want to see everyone. You won't get attendance for today's session. I want yes in the chat box from people who understand what grep and pipe does in Linux. I can see very few people saying no. Guys, you should not be attending this session. Go back, learn Linux, come back. Without knowing the basics of Linux, learning volatility is pointless because you will have to use grep to pull some things out of memory. Now, going ahead, say that, uh, we have 4 different kinds of files here: task DL, WANA decryptor, and ORQT. Now, remember this question: find the process used to delete the files. It says task DL. What does DL mean? Delete. So is this our right answer? Let's see. Let's copy this and let's paste it here, and let's see if we are able to get it right. Yes, we were able to get this right. As a matter of fact, this is the process. Perfect. Now finally we have 3 more left. Okay, and what I'll do is I want you guys to go to this website BTLO, use a fake email address, use a temporary email, register, find this memory analysis challenge and do it yourself. And I won't answer these 3 questions. I will leave intentionally for you guys to answer and complete. But I will show you some additional commands and a cheat sheet which will help you. So here I'll go to google.com and I'll search for volatility 3 cheat sheet, and you have 2 different cheat sheets. Even HackMD is good. Okay, so this is usually the more famous one. So you can find operating system information using wall.py-f windows.info. Let's try that. Let's remove all this and type windows.info. It will run it and you'll get a bunch of information about the Windows system, right? How if it was 32-bit or 64-bit, and you will also get a symbols file. which will be a JSON file which you can read more about it. This was a PAE. You guys can tell me what PAE means here? If you guys have ever worked with old Linux and Windows systems, you'll know what PAE means. The full form of PAE and what actually that full form means. Okay, one guy got it. Good job. But don't send personal messages, man. You can send it to everyone. PAE means physical address extension. It means that this system is actually a 32-bit system but will work on 64-bit systems also, because it is still being supported. That is what it means. Yes, correct. Okay, so now you got so much information about the system. So this is a, a nice, you guys can say a nice cheat sheet. You guys can follow it. So for example, you can get the process list, the process tree you can get. If you guys want, I will show you how to get that. So that's ps tree. So let's do that. Let's run the ps tree command. Let's try to extract the tree of processes. So you'll get the entire tree of processes that were running on that system at that time, including your WANA decryptor, vm3dservice.exe, everything you'll get. Okay. You can also run other. So you can go to proc dump. Here you can look at Windows dump file and you can dump the full process. It will dump the exe and the associated DLLs that were loaded into the memory. Okay. You can also run mem dumps, memory dumps. You can, look at the different handles. If you don't know what handles are, I will show you guys just a second. Handles, not these handles. Okay. Handles and objects. So an object is a data structure that represents a system resource such as file, thread, or image. Your application can't access object data, nor the system resource the object represents. Instead, your app must obtain the object handle, which it can use to examine, modify the system resource. Each handle has an entry internally maintained table. Those entries contain address to resources in assembly language, used to identify the resource type. You guys can read this paragraph, right? I think this paragraph makes perfect sense. Like, I don't think I need to explain this paragraph. Just give it a read, and you guys will try to kind of understand what is handles and objects in memory. On Windows, of course. This is not on Linux. This is on Windows. Okay, this is the core of Windows API programming. Later on, if you guys ever touched Windows API programming, these concepts will be the core. You'll use handles everywhere. Okay, so you can look at the different handles. You can look at the different DLLs that were being used by the process ID. So DL list is the command. So you can run that DL list, and I think we can have to grep it, or no, we can just do dash dash PID, and then we can give it the process ID, which is the 2732, which was the malicious process. And there you go. Wait, what? That did not work. Is the command changed? Is that triple L right there? Yeah, that's triple L. Yeah, there you go. That was a mistake on my end. That was triple L. And now you can see for each exe, sorry, for that malicious exe, what all DLLs were loaded. It was using NT API, kernel API, user 32 DLL, GDI, which was probably for a little bit of graphics there, right? You had, okay, so there is encryption also. They're also calling RPC. Interesting. So this is a ransomware, right? So it's going to call, some DLL files to encrypt and run the encryption logic. It's going to call some to do network traffic. It's going to call some to lock you out from accessing those files. So there'll be a lot of different DLL files and libraries. So you can do a complete DLL analysis here. That is also possible. You can also do a network scan of what kind of network communication was going on the system at that time. So we can do that using the windows.net scan command, which will give us the output of the network traffic. There you go. And then you can observe this network traffic, and you can also see which executable was trying to establish this, and then you can do further search and study on this. Okay, so if your ransomware was trying to set up a connection, that was probably some bad news, right? So you can check for those things, and so much and so forth, right? Print key files, you can do a file dump, file scan. Yara scan is also possible if you have a Yara signatures file to search for malware. All that is kind of possible here. So I hope that this is very much clear to all of you, right? And if I take you quickly on the other hack tricks website, here also you have a nice little volatility, uh, you know uh, cheat sheet for all of you. So I want you guys to go on the website, register with a fake ID, use a VPN or Tor, download the file, go ahead and yeah, sorry about that, guys. You can all can hear me, right? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, you guys should go through these, these different cheat sheets. You also have one here, which is from HackMD, right? Memdump analysis. It has few additional commands. Most of the commands will be same, guys, but it's better to work. But I think another important thing is the plugins. I've told you that Volatility comes with a very good support for plugins, and you can see a lot of plugins. So here you see something like Chrome history.py, Firefox history.py, right? These plugins, if you load in and run your Volatility, you actually get exposed to even more functionality, like looking at what downloads you did at Firefox, right? If I zoom in, you guys can't see, you are able to find out those kinds of things, even who did what download in their Firefox when the memdump was taken. Sometimes you will be able to even dump that parts of that exe that were loaded into the memory and analyze those in a tool like IDA Pro. So it is extremely important to keep note that Volatility is a very, very powerful tool, and most of its capabilities, stem from the fact that it works completely independently from the system you're analyzing on, and it's very, very capable. Okay, so now your job today is going to be to go ahead, read a little bit. Sorry, yeah. So your job is going to be to read a little bit about the PE file format, understand what is the PE file format, maybe watch few YouTube videos. There are very good YouTube videos available. Come back, get some samples of the internet into a Remnux virtual machine, run those samples through Volatility and explore them, install different plugins from GitHub. Of course, after reading the code, you don't want to pick something, it may have malicious code. So read through the plugins, then install the plugins, use the plugins, try to do interesting stuff like extract Firefox downloads, right? Extract the extensions the person uses. Sometimes you may even be able to extract where the cursor was when the user took the dump on Firefox. And these capabilities really make volatility a great tool, man. I mean, when it comes to memory forensics, if you know Python, you know volatility, uh, you will automate a huge chunk of the task. Okay, so till this point, is it clear to everyone? We saw a demo, went through the basics, we saw a few commands, we jumped a little bit into the intermediate level as well. We saw how we can dump symbols and so on and so forth. Please type yes in the chat box. Perfect. Perfect, everyone. So that was it for today. What I want you guys to do is go home and practice this first before we jump any further. Okay. Remember that this is a very important skill. Very few people know how to truly use volatility effectively, how to add it and its plugin system into their applications and programs, and how to build interesting modules on top of it. If you get that skill is really going to help you break into a good position in the field of DFIR. Okay, so I hope today's information session has imparted some knowledge, and look forward to seeing you guys soon, right? And I hope that you guys took something from this session, and feel free to ask any questions you may have. At this point, I'll open the floor for about 3 to 5 minutes, and if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. I'll see them in a minute, and I'll try my best to answer those questions for all of you. Okay.
Sir, I have a question, sir. Can I have a can I ask a question, sir?
I think sir is told to write in the chat box. We'll see later.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, guys. So Sunny Sharma is asking how signatures are modified to evade AV. You change one line of code, signature changes. Hash will also change. See, most companies are not blocking on signature. What is signature? Hash only, na. You change 5 lines of code, hash will change. You add some more space, hash will change. And
Okay.
most organizations are using stuff like SHA-1. SHA-1 itself is for IOCs is a bad choice, because SHA-1 has been known to have collision attacks, and also recently I read a research paper about you know kind of you can say injecting your malicious code inside a bunch of hashes, and then whatever your SHA-1 parser, if it is vulnerable, if you load more than 1,000 of my hashes into that parser, into that parser which is used by maybe a EDR solution, your EDR will get hacked. So that's also a new type of attack nowadays. You have to be very careful what kind of hashing algorithm also you are choosing. How to check active comms with foreign IPs with exe process. You guys can refer to the netstat and the netscan. See, in memory dump, in most cases you cannot see active communication. Instead, it will show you when you took the snapshot what was going on. If you are talking active in the sense right now on the system what is happening, that won't be shown to you in the dump. It will show you 3 days ago what was going on. That's it.
Sir, just one question.
Yeah.
So what precautions do we need to take care of while taking dump? I mean, whether shall we disconnect the network connection or some other precaution, something?
See, most cases when you take a dump, okay, you should assume that the system is infected. You should segregate it from the network. Don't shut it down. Segregate it. Cut off all access to internet, your internet, and corporate internet as well as your internal network, and then start with the dump. And for dumping, I mean, there's too many tools here. You can use Linux. There are many Linux systems designed to take dumps, captures. If it is not a very dangerous ransomware, your system is still somehow working, you want to use the Win debug tool. It has an option to take the dump. You can take it through that. There are many ways to take dumps. Otherwise, there are ways to, as I explained in a previous class, right? Just open the RAM chip while it is connected to power and take a dump from it physically also. All coatings can be removed. All that is just to fool people. So you can take all that data and then you can dump it somewhere. You can format it the right way using awk and sed on your Linux system. And when it is formatted properly, you can just throw it at volatility, and volatility will take care of the rest.
Sir, while doing in RCA, only finding the presence of malware is not enough. But who is creating the malware? That is to be find out.
See,
How to?
memory forensics will not give you that in most cases. Instead, you will find what was the malware, how did it spread. If you are having good plugins, you can extract information such as uh, what file was downloaded in the browser at what time from what URL. That is also possible. So if you want to find who made the malware, maybe do more OSINT on that URL. That's a separate study and separate branch of security altogether. If I'm talking pure memory forensics, there are limits to what it can give you. Uh, if you get the exe file in hand, you get the sample, and you have a malware analysis. See, memory analysis and malware analysis are two very different things. If you get the file in hand, the PE file, you are able to neutralize it, load it in IDA, Ghidra, Redare. Nowadays, there's a few more forks of Redare in any of those tools, GDB, Pwn GDB, any of that. Then yes, you can actually go ahead and go through the assembly, go through the pseudo C code that is generated by IDA's Hexrays compiler and decompiler, and pseudocode generator, and you can have a look and you can understand and you can go like, okay, this group types like this. And then once you know how that group works, if you ever get another sample like that, you can connect those two samples and you can say, okay, this user seems to have made two types of malwares, similar looking but slightly different. Because see, what you're talking about is attribution. Attribution is very, very hard in the field.
Yes, sir.
$1 billion companies are spending every day and night, their teams are running around and trying to attribute. The moment they think they have attributed it to someone, some 5 new groups will pop out of that one group. So good ransomware teams, you probably cannot catch them, but you will be able to get an idea of how they develop their products. Because see, it is also software development. Developing a malware is exactly the same as developing any other software. You start with the architecture, design, market research, who can I hit, who can I not hit, small company, large company. Then you go to things like lab, setting up your lab, testing things, cutting off the internet, trying to bypass latest products. Then you talk about, okay, prototype one is ready, shall I do feature requests and add features into it, right? That's how the ransomware field is even working, right? Who do you think creates malware? It's guys like you and me, right? So they're all engineers, they're all computer scientists. Some maybe some PhD researchers somewhere, some maybe professors. You don't know, but they know about computers. They have to, otherwise they can't make it. So most of these groups are operating like that.
Sir, from which evidence, how to find out who is behind the infecting the malware to my systems? So ultimately, everybody is asking who is behind the infection. So from which evidence we can find out? Where is the source to find the bad guys who has compromised my system? So,
The guy is smart, you cannot find. Simple. If the
so
guy is
where is
good at what he does or she does, then you will never find that person.
the solution then? Why RC is doing then? Root cause
There
analysis, ultimately root cause
it's a
analysis is
cat and
the
mouse
ultimate
game.
goal.
If you are looking for solution in cat and mouse game, then I'm sorry, you're in the wrong place. It is a cat and mouse game. We will make something, they will break something. It's exactly like that.
Mm.
If you are saying that you make nuclear weapon and you are telling North Korea not to make nuclear weapon, that you are the only one fooling yourself. You
Sir,
cannot expect the world to sit around and you will do your memory forensics and you will expect that okay, everything I'll get. Yeah, you'll get some things. You'll get okay, what file names they use. Take that file name, block it in your entire organization. So never again your organization's laptop will be infected by that file. That is possible. See, you got a IOC, you block the IOC. That is
yes.
something we do in organizations daily, right? You can get information such as what IPs it is communicating to at the time when you took snapshot. Block those IPs, block the hash, block the
Sir,
library it's calling.
how much you block the IPs? This some IP spoofings are there, so misguiding with the IPs. Then what is the limitation of blocking all those in my firewalls? The logs limitation is there.
Mhm.
How to contain all of this?
See, if you are talking about limitations of firewall, that's a product to product thing. From what I understand, most commercial products are very, very bad. Like for example, I'll just take example of one commercial firewall, Palo Alto. It is the shittiest firewall I have seen in my life. It still sells as the best firewall in the market right now. It has a limit of some 50,000 DNS block list. After 50,000 domains and URLs, you cannot block in that,
Yes,
even if
yes.
you pay. Okay. At the same time, there is an open source next generation firewall called OpenSense. It is much more secure, much more flexible. You have all the code, risk is less, trust is more. You can develop your own next generation filters in it. You have no limit of how much IPs and domains and URLs you can filter and block. It has risk context, organizational context, it has application context. Why are you using Palo Alto? Just to say I use Palo Alto?
Right
So
now,
also
all
the
firewalls
architect's problem. He has designed and bought the wrong products.
all nowadays all these firewalls and next generation firewalls are there is still limitation of those logs. Blocking IPs are there. Suppose these firewalls means a mass number of utilities are right now using. Even though there is some limitation of this blocking IPs, dynamic IPs are there, dynamic domain names are there, and IP spoofings are because of all those. There is a limitation to retain all those. For APT groups, they are retaining many months, years. They are still for the purpose of some espionage. So in that situation, how can you those to contain all?
see, my first recommendation to any organization, uh, any organization, okay, and I'm assuming government, private,
Yes, sir.
public, right,
Yes,
PSU, anything.
yes, sir.
First recommendation is do not buy any firewall product affiliated with NATO. That should be your first thing in risk profile being an Indian company. Once you have done that, then ask yourself, can you train a team of 4 people who will build their career with your company, your organization, your team, your government department? And can you teach them how to use firewall based out of Linux or BSD, like OpenSense, PF filter system, and various plugins on PF filter system? Or do you need to buy a product? If you cannot train, you are forced, you have to buy the product, right? If you can afford 4 people who you can train, right? Training is available everywhere nowadays. The internet, they can self learn. Even my team, I train. I run a SOC, and even my people are getting trained in that. So if the question is that I can train 2 people or 3 people and they can learn to do it, NGFW is the biggest scam. What is the difference between an FW and the NGFW? Let me ask you this question. Have you felt any change after deploying a Sophos NGFW or a Palo Alto or a Kaspersky NGFW or a Fortinet or a F5? All these are top
Okay.
products,
Yes, 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 yes.
right? I have
Totally.
never felt any change. I am running I have run till this point, I've run around 14, 15 socks. I have never felt any change. Same they are. The only thing they'll do is they'll have risk context and or context, organizational context, which means that they'll put some number out of 100 for certain types of connection. They'll give you some risk grading. Based on that, the company will give you some report every month. Your network traffic volumetric data is this much, risk is this much. This website you're contacting too much, this you're contacting less. Your data is flowing through this channel more, this channel less. You can already do all that in Linux. It is free. You don't have to pay someone for that. So most of the NGFW is actually scam. Even EDRs, most of the products in the market, if I remove CrowdStrike, I remove Trend Micro and Palo Alto XDR. 3 products, most EDR and XDR products are not having the same scale of capability also. They cannot do live memory forensics most of the time. If you are using reflective DLL attack, most malware will bypass the EDR. You can Google right now how to bypass EDR Palo Alto. You will see 15 blogs on Medium explaining how you can bypass Palo Alto XDR or CrowdStrike EDR. So then you ask yourself, why am I paying 1 crore a year? Right? Like that's what a CISO thinks, right? I'm talking from the head of security operations, SOC lead, or CISO perspective. That's what you will think at that stage. Why am I paying so much money to these organizations and still? And in the long run, it's always better to develop your own capability. Short run, ठीक है, you bought something, it's fine. You're somehow surviving. Long run, always better to get your own stuff. That is why I always recommend organizations don't move to cloud. Cloud is just someone else's computer which you do not have control over. If you can, if you're big enough, get your own data center. Build it from scratch if you have to. Use BSD and Linux. Reduce your risk that way. Don't go to cloud. It will look cheaper in the short run. Long run, always cloud is costlier. And now companies are realizing, if you guys have been seeing ISACA conferences and you have been joining last few years, now people are saying that cloud gets more costly as you scale. And after one point, it is cheaper to have your own data center compared to running it in cloud and have specific use cases deployed for inside your data center that you own physically. And there are many reasons to run your own infrastructure, right? For DNS security, for example, right? If you guys think Route 53 is a good solution of AWS, you guys know nothing about DNS. It's a horrible DNS router. There are much better options in open source. Even in closed source, there are some very, very good options that you can deploy locally, but in your company inside, and you can expose to outside also if you want. One of my clients does that. They have a public resolver on a like public IP, and you and I can use it, and they also use it internally. So yeah, it's up to you. See, you have to, you have to understand that in an ideal world, I will tell you, don't touch Windows. Leave Windows forensics, just don't touch Windows. Let me give you guys an example. There is an organization, I won't take the name, that I did a SOC setup for. Very big organization, 30,000 crore plus assets, and around at least 10,000 employees, plus employees. Okay, good organization, reputed organization, great risk score, won a lot of awards. They did not have a SOC. They had 4 people running the security team. When I stepped in, I took around 12 people with me, and we built a SOC from scratch. The only product that we purchased for that entire SOC was a tool called Radware DDoS, anti-DDoS protection, Defense Pro, Radware Defense Pro. It's a physical hardware box. It's little bigger than a 16-inch MacBook, and you connect it after your SASE and SD-WAN network routing systems, and it will take all the internet connection and traffic, and it will stop most DDoS attacks. Like 90% DDoS attacks, it will stop. Other than that, we did not buy a single product from SIEM, SOAR, EDR, everything we deployed open source, threat intel platform, and it is working like magic. Till this day, they have not been compromised, and they have a score of 830 in the tool called BitSight. If you guys ever worked in a small or medium or even large organization, you guys might know about BitSight in security. It's a risk scoring tool, very famous in the field. 830 is a fantastic score to have. So, and they are barely spending any money. So, just they're paying Radware some 50 lakhs or something like that, 50, 60, something like that. So, you have to understand that security is going to be a catch and mouse game only if your foundation is weak. If your foundation is strong and you have done your engineering properly, then it does not matter. You will be winning. Let's take another example of Real. You guys know about Real, right? Red Hat Enterprise Linux. I would still to this day recommend remove all your Windows systems, put Real. Linux supports Active Directory. If you have to use Active Directory, use Linux on your desktops, on your laptops. Real supports workstation laptops and business laptops and customization on laptops. You can pay them 20 lakhs and they'll do it for you. Once they have done it for one model of laptop, just buy 10,000 laptops for all your employees, install Real, they'll give you OEM installer, use Real. Yeah, it's Linux with SE Linux configured. It's still far secure than, something like Windows. And why do we use Windows? If you look at business environment, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Chrome, except for these four, 90% employees, corporate IT employees, barely touch anything else. I'm giving you a factual statistic. I've seen this happen in large organizations. I've handled till single organization 4 to even 6 lakhs endpoints I've handled. I've seen the statistics. They are not even touching anything else. They're not even open calculator on the Windows. Why are you using Windows then? All these are already available in Linux, and Linux supports AD and much better security. Much, much better. You are just saying ki aa bell mujhe maar. That's what you're doing. And then you are saying, man, why am I getting hacked? How do I find the hacker? Hacker is just trying to teach you that you're being stupid. Don't be stupid. And they're trying to make money, right? They'll keep attacking you till the day you decide that, okay, my foundations need to be strong enough. So, you have to understand the differences. You have to understand that sometimes it's just because you spend money does not mean your product is good and it's going to give you the output, right? For example, there is this tool called MISP. You guys know about MISP? Anyone here?
No, sir.
Okay, give me a sec. I think my screen should be visible anytime now. Is it visible, guys?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
A
Yes,
piece of
sir.
advice: stop buying threat intel. Just set up this platform, integrate it with your SIEM, SOAR, XDR, whatever you have, and stop paying for thread feeds. For 80 to 90% use cases, MISP's default thread feeds are going to be enough to handle most threat profiles for companies.
Is
You
it
don't
open
need-
source, sir? Is it open source?
Yes, yes, of course. I will very rarely show you paid tools unless I think I'm just impressed by them. There are a few, but mostly you don't need to touch them. Highly extensible, has a plugin system. You can put your own feed. Say tomorrow you get a threat hunting team. You're a big company now. You earn 16,000 crores profit. You can sit and you can make a team of 10 people, experts, OSCP certified hackers who are doing threat hunting. Good. The feed they generate, you can also consume that in MISP, and then you have connected your MISP to your C media, SDR, SOAR, and it auto blocks all the IOCs. So the IOC run and chase, it makes your life really easy, this platform. So many clients we have deployed this for. And I mean, yeah, you don't need to buy thread feed. Yeah, those days are gone. Don't waste your money on buying feeds from companies and organizations. Government, there is a government feed you can get from certain, and the default feeds of MISP. Except these two, you as an Indian organization, you do not need any other feed. Okay, that should be enough to protect your organization. After that, you automate it. If it comes in MISP, there is API. Tell someone to write in Python. If it comes in MISP, block in firewall. Simple. Block in EDR. Block in AD. Right. Block in Sentinel. Whatever you're using, whatever product. So do it like that. SOAR and TIM is going to be a very important part of the future of cyber automation. Micro automations, trying to make your menial tasks faster so engineers can focus on what matters. That's kind of the where the industry is moving on. So that's it, guys, from me today. And I hope we had
Thank
a
you, sir.
great session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, and I'll end the session now. See you
Thank you,
guys.
sir.
Jai Hind.
Jai